What do you think? You sit right here and let Daddy do all the work, huh? It's okay. You ain't gotta cry. Daddy's right there. Look. Hey. What's wrong with your kids, man? Hey, it's okay. Put a hat on. No, ma'am. Okay. Okay. I'm leaving. I'm gone. Hey, look, I'm gone. Well, hey there, it's Pete with GCI Turf. Hope you're having a great day today. And I'm out here at my brother's house where I planted a test plot of 20 different varieties of grass seed. These are some new ones I'm trying out, just kind of seeing what's out there. They're, supposed to be the best of the best, and there's some A-list varieties mixed in here as well. So I'm going to take you through the process start to finish, why I'm planting it in the spring, the whole 9 yards. So to start, why am I planting it in the spring? It's the absolute worst time you can plant grass seed, in my opinion. Typically you would do that in the fall of the year, but time is crucial right now. I don't have the time to wait until fall of the year to plant it and then go all through another season, fall and winter and into the next spring. So I wanted to get it done now. That's one of the reasons. Number two is, if these are truly best of the best and A-list and they're supposed to be top of the line, there's nothing out there any better, then I wanted to plant them in the worst possible conditions I could possibly do. The reason I prefer to plant grass seed or overseed in the fall of the year is because you're winding down from the summer, ground temperatures are easing off. Typically you start to get some fall cooler rain weather, and that kind of thing helps out with germination. And the main reason is that turf has the entire fall, all winter long, to build a root system going into the following spring, and more importantly going into the following summer. This is all cool season turf. There are 2 ryegrass varieties out here. There are 6 Kentucky bluegrass varieties out here, and that leaves 12 turf type tall fescues out here. So they're all 100% cool season turf. Sometimes these grasses can struggle or stress out during the summertime. By planting them now, I'm giving the turf minimal advantage going into the summer. So the date today is April 13th. It's already, we're hitting mid-80s a few days, so it's getting warm. So that means this turf out here is not gonna have a lot of time to hurry up, get mowed, get established before we start getting really hot. Ideal situation is this grass will get up, get going, and it'll turn off hot and dry. That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, I'm gonna baby it and nurture it up until a certain point, but I've done everything in my power out here to give all this grass a chance to get up, get going, get established, kind of harden off, mature off as quickly as possible before it gets hot. Now in a video we'll make here in the next couple of days or so, I'm going to set up a makeshift irrigation system out here using a big old water tank and a pump. We are going to attempt to water it just to get it up and going. Okay, probably after we mow it about 2 times, that's when we'll shut the water off totally and completely. And again, the only reason I'm doing that is I gotta hurry up and get it up. I gotta get the stuff up out of the ground quickly, get it mowed, thicken it up, all that kind of thing before it gets hot. Once we get hot, that's when the water goes away, and we'll strictly depend on the weather. So I think that'll be a really, really good, strong test for all these varieties out here, just to kind of see just how bad to the bone they are. So I started off a couple of weeks ago. I came out here and measured out an 80 by 80 plot. 80 times 80 is 6,400 square feet. I divided that up into 20 individual plots, and those plots are 16 feet wide and 20 feet long. You can see the grid layout here on your screen right here, and basically the top left corner is going to be number 1, all the way over to the bottom right corner is number 20. The lighter color green, number 1 through 12, are all turf type tall fescue varieties. The 2 in the top right, number 13 and 17, are perennial ryegrass varieties. And 14, 18, 15, 19, 16, and 20 are all Kentucky bluegrass varieties. So once I got the Roundup down, give it a couple of weeks. Now this is gonna be a little bit of a test here, because there were some really hardcore weeds out here. This has never been managed or maintained. It's all just a big open field that my brother bush hogs on occasion. And there were some warm season plants out here that hadn't completely woke up yet. So it'll be interesting to see if the Roundup does anything for that or not. So I came out the other day, which was about 2 weeks after the Roundup application, and I brought my power rake out here on the Ventrac, and I wanted to remove the vegetation. That's the only thing I wanted to remove. I wanted to leave as much dirt as possible. So I power raked and power raked and power raked, and kind of used it as a skinning type device and skint off the vegetation from the top. I'd windrow it and clean it up and windrow it and clean it up. And then my brother got on his Ventrac and used the landscape rake and was just barely hovering over the dirt and kind of pushing all that material to the end of the plot. Then I began grading, and what I mean by grading is I didn't do any severely heavy grading. There's still a little bit of undulation out here. The goal wasn't to get it flat. The goal was to get it smooth so that it mows nicely and it's not all humpy and bumpy. And while I was doing that, Micah took the front bucket and went over there and began scooping up all that material that we removed and dumping it out of the way. So once I got it down to bare dirt, I kind of went back over it a couple more times with the power rake and done a little bit more fine tuning and a little bit more fine grading, just to kind of slick it down a little bit more. And so once all the fun part was done, then I had to get my little grass seed spreader. This is a little handheld Scott's battery power spreader that we use when we're in tight little areas. And we flagged everything off, got those 16 by 20 foot plots marked off with flags. And then I took my piece of cardboard and I would use that to keep the seed from cross-contaminating into another plot. Yes, you see this done sometimes where there's a little dirt strip between the plots of grass, but what we're actually trying to achieve here is 2 different things. 1, a test plot to test out these varieties, and number 2, a continuation of his yard. So that's why the actual varieties butt up against each other. So when you're standing back at a distance, it'll look like one nice uniform stand of turf. So that's the most tedious part, and I'd say the most physically demanding. It's not terribly hard, but it is a little bit difficult to keep all that stuff laid out and to spread each individual variety by itself. Yes, I had to do that 20 times, so it took me a little while to get that done. Once I was done with that part, then I grabbed my roller and went over it a couple of times and really pressed that grass seed down into the ground. This is so much fun, flattening out that ground and really pressing that seed in so I get really good seed to soil contact. And obviously the Ventrac makes it a piece of cake. I'm not gonna lie to you about it. It's extremely easy to do when you have a nice tractor to do this kind of work. So once I got it flattened out and rolled, I called it a night, went home, got up the next day, got my Hydroseeder loaded up and came out here with the Hydroseeder. You'll notice that the first part of the Hydroseeding, that mix is a little bit darker than the second half, and the reason for that is I kind of cheated a little bit and I added a few extra bags of the mulch, but I also found out when I got done that some of it was left in the bottom of the tank and didn't agitate and mix well. So the second time I went back to the standard rate. Since I've been using a Hydroseeder, I would have to say Honestly, I think this is the absolute ideal and best way to cover grass seed. There's just a lot of options out there, but at the end of the day, in my personal opinion, I think hydroseeding is the absolute best way. I was able to add several of my Green County products in there. I added the Humic 12, the Air 8, the RGS, and I used the Green Pop for my starter fertilizer. I was able to put some tenacity in there as well. And of course, the whole part of that is a binder called Flock Lock, and it basically makes the solution a sticky goo so that it helps the material bond together and stick to the ground. I think that's a really cool name, Flock Lock. I get the part about the lock, where it locks it to the ground, but I haven't really figured out the flock part yet. Flock Lock. Flock Lock. Flock Lock. I don't know. You tell me. Today's Thursday. We're supposed to get some rain tomorrow, which is Friday, and a little bit more rain Saturday, so I got my fingers crossed. There's no heavy downpours of rain and jacks all this up. You know, it is what it is. You're at the mercy of the weather sometimes, but we're gonna roll with it. Whatever happens out here happens. Monday or Tuesday next week, I'll probably round up all that watering stuff, bring it out here. I'll do a separate video on that, on how to set it up, running my lines, getting power out here, the plumbing and all that kind of thing. I'm pretty sure by looking at this, I can set up one of my big sprinklers right in the middle. And with that pump, I should be able to cover the entire thing. It should be more than enough water to be able to keep this wet until it comes up, gets going. We'll fertilize it a little bit, maybe a little weed control, mow it a few times, and we're gonna cut the water off, and we're gonna see just how tough this stuff is. So hey, as always, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch. I'll check you later. And oh, holy cow, I forgot something extremely important to tell you. This exact same layout, all 20 varieties, I have packed up and sent off to 5 different folks all across the country. Now, they're not doing a 6,400 square foot test plot. They're each doing a 1,000 square foot test plot. So the plot is laid out identical 1 through 20, but the physical size of the plot is a little bit smaller. You know, I've kind of given them free reign on the planting technique and all that kind of thing. Plant it how they know how to plant it, but as long as they're keeping things separated and that kind of thing and organized, that's all I care about. And their instructions from me were to water it as needed to get the grass up and get it going, get it established, mow it a few times. I've already supplied them with all the fertilizer they need for the remainder of this season. And the reason for that is now, instead of just testing this stuff right here in North Carolina, it's being tested all across the country. These are folks in my Facebook group, and I put out a little post and say who meets this criteria, who can help me out with this, and had several folks do that. And then I chose those 5 for that. And then I've also got, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 more people in the group that have areas that need grass seed. So I'm gonna be selecting out a bunch of different ones and making some mixes and that kind of thing and sending them to those guys, and we'll document the whole thing, and that way it's not just being tested right here in North Carolina, it's being tested all over the country, which is a big deal. Whoop whoop.